De toutes les vidéos publiées jusqu'à présent sur cette chaîne, celle-ci est sûrement la plus importante. Importante, car portant sur un sujet sociétal sur lequel beaucoup de bêtises sont dites. Importante, car traitant d'une thématique qui me concerne aussi directement qu'intimement. L'heure est donc venue de parler ici de transidentité.
There we go. We'll get a little sip of water so we have a good voice. I'm an open book. Please feel free to ask anything because honestly, because I found that sharing my story and sharing what I have gone through doesn't just give context to people who are already going through it, but for ones who are on their way up, they understand, they can relate to it and see, here is this person. I started late in life, in my 30s, and I grew up in a Mormon household, extremely repressed, ultra religious, and it made it very difficult for me to transition. And I basically had to make the decision to either, finally transition or really be 6 feet underground. I lived miserably for so long, and in all in the promise of I had to pay, respect and honor to the family. I have to, do what they want. I can't abandon them, and I can't, I'll be alone if they abandon me, if I ever transition. And that was kind of at my age, that was what our choices were before, the last 10 years here or so, when trans individuals have been far more empowered to come forward, learn, and begin their own transition. Back when I was coming up, the only choices were stealth or die. You gave up your family, your friends, and your name and everything around you, and you moved somewhere else on a completely new name, and you never acknowledged that old life because being outed as trans could possibly be fatal. We've come away from those days for now, but there's still a lot of risks, of course. But it was seeing everybody else behind me, this younger generation in Gen Z and Alpha. I was seeing, these people so much more accepting, and I'm like, I felt more encouraged to come out, and so I did. And when I did, it took me a little while to settle into myself and find my place. My family wasn't having anything to do with me or anything around me. A lot of my friends around me, gone as well. And it was left to me to find my support system, like many people in here. And I found my support system through Wave VR. It was a program that was started in 2017. And when I went in there, I found a community and these people that took me in. And that helped me kind of push forward, break out of myself, and grow into myself. It was the genesis of everything, putting me into a position of creating art and doing music on a weekly basis. And that's kind of where my story started and how it leads up to where I am today.
I just try to keep the cold out, but the frost cuts deep in the dark and endless night. Just yesterday I felt the way that nothing does to frostbite, but now I see the sleepy morning sky. I close my eyes as my tears begin to break, and my voice starts to falter where my breath cannot escape. On the horizon I see
The artistic community here in VRchat is very safe for trans folks. There's a lot of very subtle gender non-conforming people, like a lot of people that identify just strictly as men wear female avatars, for example. It's very normal to be like genderqueer here in VR. And I think that speaks to how when you let people be safe, what happens? I've been involved in many queer communities in my life. For most of the time out of college and during my transition, I was a live streamer, and I was quite well known for being trans and being publicly trans during that time. And so because of that, I ended up building a community of trans folks around my stream, but also building community of other transgender Twitch streamers at the time as well. It's a wild life story. It's a wild life story, but I do feel kind of like an elder trans. Unfortunately, there isn't a whole lot of trans history, but being 8 years in and seeing all the baby new transes here in VRchat is very cute. I'm like, oh, you don't know very much yet, but you're beautiful.
So, I actually realized I was trans because of VRchat. And so it's been a really recent journey over the last 2 years. Now, of course, it's been my whole life that I've been trans and just wasn't able to connect the dots. Yeah, so let me take you back to the moment. My journey started with just not telling anybody that I was doing any VR stuff, because I wanted to see who I would be when no one was watching. Who am I? So this was only maybe a month or two into playing VRchat. I wore a Hatsune Miku avatar, and I had been collecting a bunch of them. I love her. I was wearing this one, and my friends at the time, we were going to like a little party thing, and he came up to me and asked me, like drunk, totally super drunk, so hey, what are you? I'm like, what? And what are you? Luckily my friend Sarah was there. She's like, oh, I think he's saying, like, what do you identify as? What are your pronouns? And then I just remember that question like hitting me through the heart like a bolt of lightning, and just like feeling like, I don't know. I've never been asked that before. And then just like, I guess I was like, he, him, I think? But it was like not confident whatsoever. And that night, I'm just like struggling to figure out, why did that feel so wrong to say he, him? And that was the beginning of my, as the trans community calls it, the egg cracking moment.
Many times I've been alone, and many times I've cried. And anyway, you'll never know the many ways I've tried, and still they lead me back to the long winding road. You left me standing here a long time ago. Don't keep me waiting here. Let me know the way.
J'ai la chance d'être assez androgyne de base. Du coup, ça n'a pas été trop dur de passer d'une apparence à l'autre. J'ai juste eu à m'habiller un peu différemment, mettre un peu des brassières qui créaient un peu des formes, et c'est tout. Ça a suffi en fait pour que n'importe qui fasse même pas la diff. Ça a tout changé. À partir du moment où j'ai commencé ma transition, vraiment, ça a été, je me suis sentie déjà beaucoup plus heureuse. J'arrivais beaucoup plus à m'assumer. j'ai pu vraiment commencer à prendre à faire des choses en fait dans ma vie, parce qu'avant j'y arrivais pas. J'étais pas bien dans mon corps, j'étais pas bien dans ma vie, je savais pas où j'allais, et globalement, le fait de transitionner, de me sentir mieux dans mon corps, aujourd'hui, je me sens, je sais que je peux porter ce que je veux, et que je vais être heureuse avec, et je sais que je peux me regarder dans le miroir et pas avoir envie de pleurer.
At the beginning of my transition and finding the place that suddenly I could find avatars that, while not furry, were more aligned with my own personal gender in real life. And that was kind of the start of it and the genesis of me beginning in here. And with that, I started to, kind of find what everybody does over time, be them, an egg or fully out trans person.
We are naturally drawn to VRchat because we finally get to wear a body that feels correct for us, So much in real life, we get judged based on our appearance in ways that make us uncomfortable, but here in VRchat, your appearance is entirely up to you.
Chacun peut se montrer comme il veut sans qu'il y ait de jugement sur ça. Et on peut aussi voir un petit peu d'un coup d'œil un peu la mentalité de la personne selon l'avatar qu'il a choisi. Parce que ça représente souvent son état d'être ou de pensée sur le moment. Parce comme on peut changer d'avatar un peu comme on veut, il y a des fois où juste un changement d'outfit ou d'avatar peut représenter un état émotionnel différent, et je trouve que ça rejoint aussi cette idée de liberté.
It's funny because I find that some people who come into VRchat have this shock of what avatar should I wear? What avatar should I wear? I don't know what body I should choose. But for trans people, it seems very easy for them to pick and find their identity because they've understood their identity to be something that's different from what their body is.
J'aime bien les avatars furry parce que justement ça revient au fait que j'aime bien avoir des câlins, et du coup être dans un petit truc tout fluffy, tout mignon, ça facilite ça, mais aussi parce que simplement j'aime bien être petite et fluffy et mignonne, parce que c'est cool, tout simplement. Ça me permet de me représenter d'une autre façon que dans la vie de tous les jours, donc j'en profite.
This is the place where you have complete control over your appearance, your presentation, and that's something that is just very difficult to do in real life. And having that power is kind of hard to put into words, how good it feels. But I can definitely say it's validating in ways that people may not understand. But it also gives the ability to explore identities and explore different, genders and things inside of here without the cultural pressures or even family pressures that people would normally experience. And with a ton of people already in here going through that and offering support and encouraging that, there's just been an explosion in here of people. I've seen more eggs hatch than a chicken farmer.
The VRchat started as an escape for me. It was a place where I could feel like I could express myself, where I could be free, where I could experience new human connections. And now VRchat is more like my home. This is where I live, this is where I socialize, this is where I party, this is where I express myself. I haven't been in many explicitly queer spaces, but I felt that VRchat just in general is very queer, is very trans, and is very welcoming.
VRchat was a place that I found Starheart. And beyond that, bunch of other like-minded people who have gone through similar experiences and can relate to.
People talk about VRchat being like the memes and the mirror dwelling and all that, and of course it is all of those things, but it is also so much more, because VRchat at the end of the day is just people. It's a digital projection of humanity. All these pixels are just representative of the real souls who we are in real life. And that's what makes this place real. It's what makes it meaningful and beautiful. Because in this place, we can be anything that we want. And for trans people, that is everything. It was summer of 2022, and I was in a pretty bad place in my life. My dad had just been diagnosed with stage 4 cancer, and I had previously lost my mom a year before to cancer as well. And I was in a very, very dark place. And It was one of those times in my life where I had to decide, do I want to allow myself to be consumed by the darkness, or is it something that I want to transmute into something that can uplift others and create beauty and love and unite people? And you probably heard me tell the story of the Trans Academy in the past, but we started with 10 people in September of 2022. And it was just a handful of us sitting around the coffee shop, just talking about trans issues. And what we realized is that VRchat and social VR was such a powerful technology for exploring gender identity. Things just started happening. It was just completely surreal. I mean, people started coming in and offering to help. And then the community sort of collectively said, like, yes, this is something that we want.
Tizzy is a tireless and dedicated soul, and the team that works underneath and with her is absolutely amazing. It runs like clockwork, and the people are really talented at being able to foster a place for so many people and keep it all running like in a well-oiled machine.
She's been there for when I had a loss in the family in February. She was the first person I called. She was immediately supportive in every way that I needed. So just remember, whenever you are here in Trans Academy because of one of the most incredible people, not only in my life, but I think just in this game, in this community. Like, there's a reason she's in charge here. She really is the right person for the job. She cares.
Yeah.
One of the things that really motivated me was seeing We Met in Virtual Reality, which is the show on HBO that really kind of highlighted communities like Helping Hands, and just seeing like what they were doing in VRchat to create accessibility.
Okay, tour starting here, everybody. We're gonna do our academy tour starting here. Alrighty. So yes, welcome everyone to the Trans Academy. So my name's 𝓷𝓮𝓽𝓀𝓻𝓴𝓼. I use they, them pronouns, and I'll be giving you a tour of the academy. It seems that the shark is known as a mascot for transgender community, especially for trans femmes. So Bear here is a bit more trans mask. And then our NB here, get a non-binary, it's NB, this is the courtyard. This is one of my favorite places in the academy. I always hang out here during events, and it's also where we hold Jessa's voice workshops. Those are lovely informal voice workshops, and Jessa teaches voice masculinization, feminization, or androgenization. So that's where this happens, and the time is going to be in our Discord. So.
Right? So when I've done this exercise, I want to still be at that same pitch. So this is what it will sound like with pitch consistency on a coat. So I'm targeting ah for the pitch. This green line here represents the position of the tongue for ah. This brown line here represents the position of the tongue for e. Right? And this idea of less space causing the sound to brighten. That's the word we use to describe this, brighten. And more space causing the sound to darken. This is a very integral idea behind voice feminization and voice masculinization. Here we go. 3, 2, 1. Coat, 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 coat,
Coat, coat, coat, coat. Right, we can hear that pitch is the same. Coat.
at same pitch, different sounds. 3, 2, 1, go. So if your voice doesn't pattern quite exactly the same as mine, that's okay. Just means that there's some component, one of these variables, that's not quite getting to that stage yet. And that's okay. It will come with time.
Hello.
Let's talk about the icebreaker. So, for this icebreaker, which is called interest groups, we will have all of you think about an interest, a talent, or a hobby, or that you really like. Then, I want you to
talk to the people close to you about this interest or hobby, or whichever thing that you like.
And then last night, I was too scared to go into like even the Trans Academy alone. So I had one of my friends on Discord hop in with me. So that's how I got into it. Neither one of us had been there before.
It's an amazing community. Yeah, it's an amazing community. I'm a lot more social than I used to be. The first time I went to Trans Academy, the train was going around. So that person is a regular, so it's awesome to see when they're going around and stuff. They have an avatar that you can hop on the train and they'll just ride it around the academy.
Oh, cool.
Everyone's doing a big group, and you talk about what interests you have. And in about a few minutes, we'll have a group representative, I assume, and share what our group interests are, essentially.
I like to do cosplay a lot. I do cosplay props.
Have you ever heard
Ooh! I do love my cosplay.
If everyone could see themselves through some other eyes, innocent, caught up in the machinery, an algorithmic disguise.
Trans Academy is not something that is the result of like any one person, especially myself. Like, this has absolutely been a team effort. This place does not exist without our lead and without our hardworking staff, and most importantly, it doesn't exist without the community and people participating and sharing that love with each other.
But the first time I joined the Trans Academy, I joined and there were people that actually liked me for who I am, called me by she, her, called me by a million. It was just breathtaking for me. It was so beautiful. I felt seen. I feel validated. And I'm so thankful for all of you guys and the Trans Academy and the staff team for having such an amazing place here. Thank you.
I am so grateful for everything that we've experienced here. I'm so grateful to have met all of you. And the most exciting thing is that we're just at the beginning. This is just the start of something that's going to be really important. Because right now in the world, there's a lot of hate. There's a lot of pushback against our existence. And I think that we have an opportunity to come together and be united, and we are stronger together as a community.
Bah, forcément, j'ai peur. Bon, je dis pas ouvertement que je suis trans parce que j'ai peur de la réaction. Et quand j'en parle ici, je ferme ma fenêtre parce que je sais que ça donne sur la rue.
I currently work for an organization called Trans Lifeline, which is a crisis hotline for trans folks. So it's a very special and sacred work for me, but it also puts me directly in the seat of watching this dread and despair that's coming from this wave of antagonism against trans people. So record-breaking amounts of legislation is getting passed trying to hurt and exclude trans people from society. And especially with the most recent American election, my physical safety feels threatened now. We don't know what's going to happen, but we know that it might get really, really bad. And that's scary, and that's causing trans folks to feel a lot of despair right now.
Well, as of the current state, after the November election here in the United States, it's beginning to look, rather bleak and grim for people here, because all we've heard for the last year and a half or so has been, people campaigning for our erasure, to shove us back in the closet. And I do understand the despondency of many of the younger generation right now, but, if there's one message I can give to them right now, if they're listening, is, it's not a consolation to say, things have been much worse and we will get past this. But the one thing you can't do is take yourself out of that game. Resistance through existence And I plan on existing all kinds in these people's faces because that's what they want. But we're not going anywhere. We're banding together. We're coming together tighter than ever before. And once we weather through this, we will have our day. In the meantime, never stop living. Never stop being you. No law is going to hold you back. Be gay, do crimes.
There's light in the darkness. There's color in the black and white world. I've said this before, but I'm an optimist. It's really tough out there, but I've wandered the stars for a very long time, and I've found a home here. So I really hope anyone that's struggling or going through something can find their way.
Some